on the Fringe with Dan radio style. Hope everybody out there's having themselves a great day. What a crazy up and down friggin' roller coaster day it has been. The stock market was going down, not hugely, but down a bit, a chunk. And then some news changed, and it's like the largest gain I think I've ever seen. I'm surprised they didn't shut it down because it's too big. Crazy stuff is going on. So we're going to get into all the news around the tariffs and everything else. I wanted to do a quick reminder of what I've got going on this week. The music show. We are inspired by the Ramones. I've got some really cool music, a really fun intro, and then the second song, I don't know if it fits or not, but I love the song, and I wanted to make it the intro, but the intro song I went with is a better intro song. Whatever the case was, I had to put them back to back. I couldn't resist. So yeah, I broke the rule in one or two places, but I think for the most part, it's kind of got a Ramones sort of feel to it. We'll see. That's always the challenge. I'll also doing the third, the 5th and 6th Law of One on Thursday. We'll be doing that at 3 p.m. Pacific time if you want to join part of the live show. If not, you can always watch them after the effect. And what else do I got going on? Oh, yeah. And I'm probably going to do a manifesting video for those of you that are into that stuff at all, too, which shows up on Dan Radio Style on YouTube for sure. It's been there forever. My longest channel's over 1,000 videos. But, yeah, I'll be doing that. I've also got it Dan Radio Style on Rumble. It'll go up to both channels, but it's going to be a fun show. Talking about how manifesting shows you the answer, and it really does. And the question is maybe what you're wondering, well, Dan, what's the question? Well, you'll have to listen because it's an important one when it comes to manifesting and when we're trying to create things in our life. Powerful stuff, all that going on. All right, let's get into it. Let's rock and roll. I feel like I missed something else, but whatever. If I remember, I remember. If I don't, it happens. Happens, folks. This was, what was this? Oh yeah, Trump planting the magnolia. First off, I had to laugh. Like, Trump has been a garbage truck driver, he's been a McDonald's employee, and now he's a frickin' gardener.
We have a beautiful tree now at the White House. Dale's been here 53 years, he's fantastic. Dale, grab a shovel. Go ahead. I got a shovel.
Exactly. There you go. So, for those that don't know, there was a tree that was planted by Andrew Jackson, and he brought it from his home, and it was a beautiful tree. Now, one of the data points that people are having fun with right now was the tree itself was an evergreen. There's a number of different kinds of evergreen trees, but it happened to be an evergreen tree. Now, this tree got sick, needed to be cut down and taken down because it was a risk of falling. And it had been replaced with a new tree. Now, what's kind of interesting is Andrew Jackson was the last president to take out the Fed. He took out the second Fed, and the third Fed, started in 1913, is who we're dealing with right now. So there's a lot of symbolism behind this new magnolia that Trump replaced that tree with. I don't know. I am at this point trying not to read too far into stuff because, again, when you careful when you would stare at the monster that you not become the monster. Careful when you stare into the abyss that you do not become the abyss. When you look at anything long enough and you start looking for something, oh, dude, your mind will find all sorts of connections. It's not. I'm not saying it's wrong. Just saying it doesn't always necessarily equate logically, but meh. Who knows, right? Who knows at this point? Donald Trump truthed this out. He said, be cool. Everything is going to work out well. The USA will be bigger and better than ever before. This is like literally this morning, the 9th, before he made a change in his policy because of how things have played out, by the way. He didn't give up. And this is kind of funny because there was a leak that this might happen, but it was all determined on whether or not, enough countries were cool with the game and wanted to play the game properly. So Trump he's acknowledging it. We're going to get to it. He also treated this out. It's imperative that Republicans in the House pass the tax cut bill now. Our country will boom. We need to get that going. Need to get some pressure on those peeps. The House has to put that through. And I know the Freedom Caucus is going to drag their feet and cause some problems and whatever. I think it would behoove them maybe just this one time, if you got to have special discussions with other people out there in your constituents, and let them know, hey, here's why I did it. I'm not totally happy with this idea, but I voted for it because I think the country needs to move forward, right? Like, there's a very easy platform to kind of hop on and still hold your little high horse thing, but ultimately we all need to kind of move this ball forward, I think, at least one more time. And if we can do that, I think Trump's got a chance to actually pull this off. Now, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is pointing out some really fun statistics. I'm loving this, the way we're learning a lot about health. Maha is pretty awesome right now because none of us really knew this. I mean, some of us that dug into the weeds learned a lot of this stuff, but it's beautiful what he's doing. So Kennedy says American kids are obese. Making families healthier starts with the food we eat. About 1 in 5 American children are obese today. In 1980, it was 1 in 20. Among school-aged children and adolescents, 40% have at least one chronic health condition. In the 1980s, it was less than 4%. Not only is this health crisis threatening to upend the lives of American families for generations, but the chronic disease epidemic is the greatest contributor to U.S. health care costs, comprising about 90% of healthcare expenditures, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. As the leaders put in charge of overseeing our nation's food supply and human services, we have a duty to fix this. That's why we are committed to driving transformational change at the Department of Health and Human Services and the Department of Agriculture that will make America healthy again. That is not just a campaign slogan. It is a movement of Americans who want this ability to be able to make healthy choices and live longer, more fulfilling lives. Love what he's doing. Dude's a rock star. All right, real quick, before we get into the tariff stuff, I want to remind you guys, of course, of Pet Club 247. Amazing company. They've got they've got a lot of stuff you can do. You can become a member. It's one of those things where if you know a bunch of people that you can talk into this, I highly recommend you go down the rewards path because you actually kind of make a little on it. You get some free stuff out of the deal. It's just kind of a win-win. But the shop tab is really where it's at. What this is mushroom, Coriolus versicolor. Coriolus versicolor. It is a mushroom that seems to have amazing proponents. Well, amazing, maybe, I don't know. I don't want to oversell it, but it does. The immune system, you can't get too much of it. There has been countless people that have talked about, one, within their own cells, humans, there's a human tab, but also within their animals. Amazing changes within their health. Animals that had all sorts of different ailments, and certainly stuff with their coats and bumps under the skin and issues with their mouth and breath and teeth, plus some other stuff like that. Many of these things have improved drastically. This Coriolus versicolor mushroom, it is good in dogs, cats, horses, humans, probably a bunch of other animals, frankly. They found with the research, you can't actually overdose on it because it's a mushroom. It's not a drug. It's nothing like that. It's a mushroom that just oddly has this huge beneficial effect. And literally, you could just eat the mushrooms all day. And, they don't probably taste good like that, but you could, and you'd be fine. So they found that the higher doses of this help with the healing factor. Now, again, that's sometimes when we're trying to turn things back, maybe they're sick already. It's played a part with cancers. I had Baby Trump on way back when. This was one of the major things he did when he was trying to get off that was what his story is that he took like 5 times the amount you're supposed to of this, or like these products. He took a few of these. And they say it's 1 pill for every 50 pounds. So he was taking huge quantities of it, and prayer, and said just drinking water and working out. And he basically said, and he was on my channel. Got the video. It's way back somewhere in the history. So the same appears to be true with animals as well. Now, here's the thing. You don't want your animal eating a bunch of extra food. That's usually bad, right? They're going to put on weight. Now, maybe they need to. That's cool. You can give them extra food. But a lot of the times, and I see people do this frequently with animals, they try to train them with treats. And you end up giving your animal treats all the time. They expect a treat to do anything, but then they end up eating way too many calories. It's just not good for them. So there's better ways to reinforce. I think love and petting and even talking to them. Good boy, good girl actually goes a long way, believe it or not, with animals. They just want to be there and be happy, and they know when you did something, like when they're stoked, you're happy. Animals are the best. They're the best. Anyway, one of the easiest ways to get just like a treat, if you will, after I badmouth them, is Mush Puppies. It's a really good way. They've got a couple different versions of it, but it's a real entry-level way to get into it. Of course, you want to go to danradiostyle.petclub247.com, hit the shop tab, and then, of course, with dogs. But yeah, the Mush Puppies are a great way to go. Also, Mojo's, that's a liver treat. Cats like that, too, and that's in the cat section, because obviously cats don't like cookies. And they've got foods. They've also got special sauces for dogs and cats. And this is, again, it's all in how much of the calories you need to get into their food. Special sauce is kind of an interesting way to work that into food that you're maybe already feeding them that they already like. And you can kind of mix that in. So that's sometimes a way to do that. They've also got foods freeze-dried as well as regular bagged, a couple different varieties. I think one's like sweet potato and brown rice or something like that, and one's like chicken, whatever. They've got turkey dinner if you want the moist food. Again, just a lot of really good products, including toys. The antler sticks are really good because they chew on them and it gets inside their own body. Again, same kind of stuff for cats. Horses have mush ponies, which is very groovy. A bunch of ways you can buy those if you're somebody that's trying to help horses. And again, a lot of things for humans. They've got coffee that's got the mushroom in it. They've got cookies that got the mushroom in it. They've got the gummies, which are really freaking good. Really good. They're actually, it's an oddly delicious gummy. I take a decent amount of gum. I'm almost a gummy whore. I'll do favors on the streets for gummies. I like them. But those are really good. These are some of the better gummies that are out there. Go to danradiostyle.petclub247.com. That's danradiostyle.petclub247.com. Make sure you take those big steps to help you and your little loved ones, your little four-legged creatures, and sometimes big four-legged creatures. Try to help them live longer and better lives. All right, a lot going on with the tariff stuff. Let's get into it. Has Trump canceled Christmas? This is what Reuters has put out. And I've just kind of brought this up because I think it's kind of funny, first off. Second off, I don't know. There might be sort of some truth to it. Who knows? We'll find out. If we suddenly don't have a bunch of decorations, oh no, what's going to happen? Do we have to use the same ones from last year? Anyway, I don't know. We'll see. Everyone's freaking out, and then like halfway through the day, they're making changes, and it's changing everything. Which, by the way, I don't normally recall a lot of times where the stock market has literally reacted that quickly, right? Which I know they do, and that they pay attention to news, but normally it's like a day-to-day thing. And I feel like now we're doing like half days, which to me still feels like things are speeding up. I don't know. Maybe we'll see if I get more hits on that one. But that's what it's feeling like right now. It's starting to move so quickly, we're literally making like half-day adjustments, which is crazy. But yeah, Chinese producers of plastic Christmas trees and other festive decorations say orders from the U.S. clients, which are crucial for their business, should have started coming in by now, but because of surging import tariffs, they haven't. Oh no, they're not getting Christmas decorations orders. Might put some people out of business. We've got some Scott Bessent stuff talking here. I like this dude. I don't know. He just seems to know what he's talking about. He was at the American Bankers Association, really, I think, kind of talking about how indirectly, how we get away from the Fed. And I think a lot of it is more the small banks or the regional banks, right? Your credit unions and stuff, and maybe even some of the bigger banks. But whatever the case is, from his standpoint, being the Treasury Secretary, and I believe coming from the banking sector, this is his area of love. He loves these people. He loves his place. This is his peeps. So whatever the case is, this is who he's talking to, and he's kind of giving them, I think, a little pat on the back, if I remember correctly, and talking about the direction we're all going to go.
Conveying my best wishes of President Trump. He understands that national strength comes from the ground up, not the top down. And this concept applies to good government just as much as it does to banking and capital formation. For too long, financial policy has served large financial institutions at the expense of smaller ones. No more. No more. This administration aims to give all banks the chance to succeed, whether it's JP Morgan or your local mortgage and loan. It aims to get capital to Americans who need it by getting bureaucracy out of the way. For the last 4 decades, basically since I began my career in Wall Street has grown wealthier than ever before, and it can continue to grow and do well. But for the next 4 years, the Trump agenda is focused on Main Street. It's Main Street's turn. It's Main Street's turn to hire workers. It's Main Street's turn to drive investment. And it's Main Street's turn to restore the American dream. And who's going to lead this revival? The men and women in this room. As Community and small bankers, you know the needs of small town America and your community.
Yeah. And it's I think, going to matter in the big picture. They're going to be able to assess things a lot better than some corporate guy that's, 100 million miles away. Treasury Secretary Rick Bissett on Wednesday declined to rule out the possibility of delisting Chinese stocks from the U.S. stock exchange. This is a big threat. That's a huge threat, in fact. China's playing hardball right now, and we're like literally, because, and I don't know if and where this gets mentioned. I feel like it gets mentioned somewhere by somebody important. I don't remember who, though. That's awesome. And that was a stupid laugh. But we've got China that's kind of playing hardball with us right now. And it's going to be interesting how this plays out. Because, again, their stocks, they don't report the same way. They're able to change the value of things. They're able to, they don't have to, again, let us know what's going on. There's just a lot of strange things that they're doing, and nobody else is allowed to do it except China. And it's got to change. So literally, the giant-ass elephant in the room that's been in the room for 20-plus years, the giant-ass elephant that just keeps getting bigger, by the way, it's like, where's he getting fed? Us. We keep leaving shit lying around, dude's just gobbling it up. So yeah, it's about time we deal with it. Pretty cool that we are finally. Check it out.
At a point in the not too distant future, I think we will be back to firing on all cylinders. We have the response to the countries who want to come and sit at the table rather than escalate has been overwhelming.
Yeah.
Our allies, Japan, South Korea, India, and I will note that they are all around China. We have Vietnam coming today.
Yeah.
So everyone is coming to the table, and basically China's surrounded. The other thing
That's a very good point.
The other thing that I would note is that a Spanish official said today that maybe Europe should look to China instead of the U.S. And I can tell you that is a losing proposition for the Europeans, because what is going to happen, and we've already seen it starting last week, that as we put up the tariff wall, China's business model is predicated on this incredibly imbalanced economy and exporting low-cost goods and subsidized goods to the rest of the world. And guess where they are going to land? On the European shores. So our allies, part of our discussion, as our allies come in and talk to us, is how do we get China to rebalance? That is the big win here.
Yeah.
That the U.S. is trying to rebalance toward more manufacturing. China needs to rebalance towards more consumption. If at a point we can move to that, then we can move together.
Yeah.
If they will acknowledge this fentanyl problem. So we have to have an end to these mercantilist policies. President Trump made that a priority.
That's right.
Just as tax is a priority.
Well,
when you think about it, when Russia was essentially decommunized, right? Which basically did happen with the fall of the Soviet Union and all that. And they became more of an open Western type, and again, like Levi's, that was the big thing. To be able to buy blue jeans in Russia was a big deal. I had a very good friend that I worked with that was Russian, a few Russian friends, but one in particular that was just talked about all sorts of crazy crap. So that was, again, I'm not an expert overall in the big picture, but that is what I'm talking about with the fall of the CCP. How else do you do that? You turn them into consumers. You let them have the opportunity to get what they want, which is crazy, to have some options. Now, what that requires, though, is an economy that actually allows some extra money to be stuck into people's pockets so they can decide things like this. And right now, China's economy is not really set up quite well that way, plus the real estate problems they have, plus the fact that they've spent gobs of money on infrastructure that they don't really use adequately. So this game is being played across the board. What we're optically being shown and told is basically the storytellers, different sides potentially, but the storytellers are telling us what's happening. And then we're all disseminating it, making analysis, trying to figure it out. But ultimately, we're being told. And then we're either being led by the deep state or we're hopefully being informed by the good guys, hey, this is what's up. And then there's a lot of mixtures in between. So what's happening right now seems to be significantly larger than what we're understanding it to be. In fact, the fact that so many other countries just had all their tariffs turned off except China should tell you a lot as well. Things are getting very interesting. How this plays out, don't know. Again, this is why we all precautioned ourselves. Prepared for the worst, hope for the best. Shouldn't be as bad as they were planning on it being, but could hurt, might hurt, likely going to hurt. Here's Steve Miller talking about, for China, in a sense, it's kind of, I think China or Europe, maybe it was NATO, I forget who. Someone's, it's time to pay up, damn it.
We are on the verge now, because of President Trump's strength and leadership, of fixing our entire global trading system. This is an astonishing fact. Did you know, for example, that we have a $50 billion trade deficit with Japan alone in automobiles? Here's the country we protect. Here's the country that we defend. Here's a country that's an ally and partner of the United States. Why is it that we have a $50 billion automobile deficit with Japan and another $50 billion automobile deficit with South Korea? Our troops are stationed right now in South Korea, keeping them safe and free. Our troops, our soldiers, away from home, away from families in South Korea. $50 billion automobile trade deficit with that one country alone. President Trump is going to fix our global trading relationships. And at the same time, he's going to work with Congress to make America the manufacturing center of the world with the lowest taxes, the lowest regulations, and the cheapest energy.
Yeah, he's making changes. He's actually doing this. This is where we're going. This is what's happening. Deep State doesn't want it. They're fighting it every step of the way, of course. China retaliated against President Trump's tariffs on Wednesday with a new 84% levy. See, the stock started good this morning. Then this news came out. I was literally pretty up to speed on the news today. It was kind of funny. I was keeping up with it. It was like riding a wave. And this news came out, and then I went to the market. I'm like, there it is. It's already going down. And then China goes, F you. Bye. We're giving you 84%. Suck it. Right? I think I actually have it written down how to say eat shit or piece of shit. Here it is. Goshi. That's how you say it in Chinese, just in case there's any communist people. Communist people only. Any of my Chinese friends that are non-communist, of course, don't eat shit. That would be mean. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, General Flynn. This is beautiful. In warfare, for every action, there is a reaction followed by a counter-action. The Chinese believe that they are the masters of this, but in reality, their political system is built on a foundation of quicksand. The CCP under Xi is under extraordinary pressure and will not lose face, but could lose a hell of a lot more. Like those on the left in America, their arrogance will be their downfall, and it's true. This ultra-left ideal, which is communism, socialism, all that kind of, heavy progressive movement that they're doing, doesn't work. Never has. Anywhere. Was this Kevin O'Leary calling for 400% tariffs on China? He's like, no. Listen, and his argument's epic. And CNN about, I don't know, someone had an aneurysm on stage, I swear.
104% tariffs on China are not enough. I'm advocating 400%. I do business in China. They don't play by the rules. They've been in the WTO for decades. They have never abided by any of the rules they agreed to when they came in for decades. They cheat, they steal IP. I can't litigate in their courts. They take product, technology, they steal it, they manufacture it and sell it back here. Never has an administration...
400% tariffs? What would that look like?
I want Xi on an airplane to Washington to level the playing field. This is not about tariffs anymore. Nobody has taken on China yet, not the Europeans, no administration for decades. As someone who actually does business there, I've had enough. I speak for millions of Americans who have IP that have been stolen by the Chinese. I have nothing against the Chinese people. They brought great literacy, art, and tech to the world. The government cheats and steals, and finally, an administration, you may not like Trump, you may not like his style or his rhetoric, finally, an administration that puts up and says enough. 400% tariffs tomorrow morning. He'll tell you why. Xi can only stay the supreme leader if people are employed. If we wipe out any business there, because we are still 39% of all consumables on Earth and 25% of the world's GDP, America is the #1 economy on Earth with all the cards. We will not have that forever. It's time to squeeze Chinese heads into the wall now.
Well,
I'm
hold
not
on
talking
a
about
second,
tariffs
Kevin.
on
Well, I hear you, but hold on. If we're talking about people, the average consumer, not necessarily the head honchos of businesses all across the globe, can they withstand the pressure of that sort of tax on the goods?
It's short-lived. There will be
but what's your timeline compared to, you don't know the average American's timeline, what they can actually survive. There's people right now who can't survive
400% tomorrow morning, Xi's on an airplane to Washington to cut a deal.
So again, one of the keys for all you guys, teachers of teachers, I hope, it is always about the direction you steer. And you always see the difference there, beautiful difference between these two steering mechanisms. And obviously the host doing her job as a progressive individual, trying to steer it back to how the normal American is going to be screwed by this. And frankly, I've got a bitchin' little post I'm going to share at the end of this. This is, if the numbers are true, and I have a hard time believing this, I really do. It's just like, wow, I can't believe that's true. But 8%, they're saying something like that, only are invested in the stock market. Now, again, I'm assuming that doesn't involve pensions, because pensions are sort of a different monster, and how those are invested and whatnot is up in the air. So that could be a larger number technically, but there's a butt ton of people that don't have stocks at all. Can barely afford to put bread on their table, right? Right? They have to eat top ramen, sometimes without the powder, so they can save it to make beef stew. They're getting some leftover meat from someone or whatever. Roadkill happened. I don't know. That happened when I lived in Tennessee. My assistant stock manager called in sick. Called in late. He's like, I'm going to be in late, man. Someone hit a deer. I want to get to it before the flies get it. And I was just like, okay, this is totally a different world. Don't understand it. Yeah, that's cool, bro. We'll be fine. China on Wednesday said that any deal for TikTok had to comply with Chinese law, reiterating an earlier stance when asked about the U.S. President Trump's move to extend the deadline for the sale of TikTok 75 days. And if China is saying that the sale would have to comply with Chinese law, what they're saying is that the CCP would still have access to all the information. The servers will still remain here in China as well, and we will control the algorithm, is what they're saying without saying it. This is the contention behind why this program is being threatened to be blocked, which, again, I'm not fond of. It's not secure. I wish they would just maybe be better about it, or prove it really well, what they steal from people, and then tell everybody, here's the things they've literally taken. They know your children's names. Nothing to worry about. Blows me away every time. People just do not understand. They do not understand the information war at all. Everything they can figure out about you. Pete Hegseth announcing Panama's withdrawal from the China Belt and Road Initiative. We are at war with China.
Panama and the United States, less secure, less prosperous, and less sovereign. And as President Donald Trump has pointed out, that situation is not acceptable. We are grateful to President Molino, Minister Abrego, and your teams, along with the Panama Canal Authority, for responding to these threats and safeguarding the canal. President Molino's decision to withdraw from the Belt and Road Initiative reflects his government's clear understanding of China and the threat it poses. I want to be very clear. China did not build this canal. China does not operate this canal. And China will not weaponize this canal. Together with Panama in the lead, we will keep the canal secure and available for all nations through the deterrent power of the strongest, most effective, and most lethal fighting force in the world.
I love stuff that's got a resolution of 240. What is this? This is horrible. 494. Good God. It's not even good that way. Anyway, whatever. It is what it is. Some people have bandwidth issues. I gotcha. The European Union, now they're talking about approving tariffs against us. They're going to hit around 21 billion. So they're already charging a value-added tax, by the way. They're already charging a value-added tax. Now they're adding a tariff, a retaliation tariff of 25%. Now, Trump talked about the 70 countries. And that could very easily not be Europe. Europe's not that many countries. 27? Is that what it is? Yeah, 27 countries. There's like 200-ish in the world. So Trump's like, like 70 people have talked to him. And maybe he's given the EU a chance to not be stupid, but I don't know. I mean, we don't necessarily, especially with the war we're having with China, what this would do would be this would isolate the United States, which is kind of what the deep state wants to happen, frankly. That is probably the best move they can make, is try to get us to isolate ourselves, and then maybe they can somehow figure out somebody stupid enough to go to war with us. That's possible. Iran's a good contention point. China's most likely probably with around the Taiwan, but hard to say. Or it could be Panama would be a very fun little place where things could escalate. I mean, that really is an important port. Oddly weird to say it that way. But yes. So we're entering uncharted territory in the global financial system, with simultaneous drops in the prices of all U.S. assets, including stocks, the dollar, and bonds. This is George Saravelos, the global head of foreign exchange research at Deutsche Bank. He wrote this in his research note. He said, quote, "It is very hard to foresee market dynamics in coming days." He added, noting that the Trump administration's trade policies were encouraging the sell-off in U.S. Treasury bonds, aiming to shrink trade deficits with major trading partners could reduce demand for U.S. assets. Nobody knows what's going to happen. Nobody knows what's going on. This has never happened because their entire system has been built to move in a specific direction, which is to ultimately rape us all as much as possible and to constantly figure out new ways to do more of that. Never in a million years was it expected to come in the opposite direction. So they've got nothing to keep us all from sliding on backwards. The more we learn, the more we understand, the more they are not going to be in a good place. It's horrible how it's playing out for them. Trump administration mulls the farmer bailout after China's retaliatory tariff threatens exports. China, that's one of the things they're doing is buying, I think, a bunch of corn or something. Maybe they're buying more stuff. They're feeding it to their pigs is what I understand. Which is probably how we got there. There was a pig sickness there at one point. You guys remember that? I wonder if they accused us maybe of doing it to their food. Wouldn't surprise anyone, would it? Because we're playing games with each other. China doesn't want to buy any of our shit. They kind of need to, but they don't want to. They don't trust us. Nobody really trusts us because our government certainly was deep state. Now it's not. So we're like Hungary. They want to take Hungary's voting rights away, the EU, similar place. Italy got quiet because I think Meloni or whatever her name is, I don't think she wanted to, some people don't have the stomach for the level that things are going to get to. We've obviously got Bolsonaro in Brazil. And of course, Mr. Milei. Libertad, damn it. Love that dude. We got like 5 people on this planet in positions of importance that are willing to do what's right. So, yeah, things are tough right now. And the picture being painted, of course, is dire against our side. Of course, we are over the target. There's 5 of our countries sort of working together. Well, one of them, Bolsonaro's not even in a country, but it's helped bring attention to their catastrophes that have been going on. Couldn't resist this. Rant this guy did. So wait, all the people who have had enough money to put away in the stock market are upset that it's diminishing? Well, cry me an MNFer river, baby. Most of us have just been trying to survive and haven't had extra money to invest. Typically, any extra money I've had went into my savings account, but since a few months after Biden took office, I've managed to keep a whopping $6 in savings. So cry harder. I don't give a F about your stocks. Feel you. That's cool. I just want to say that to all the people out there that have no stocks. You probably feel that way. Totally cool. I don't disagree with you. That was totally me for a long time. But things change. They do. They can. And I think the world that we're talking about, you might actually end up owning stocks someday. You might. You might choose to. President Trump announces 90-day pause on tariffs except for China. So maybe Europe is going to step back. And if Europe obviously puts their thing into effect, and in reality. But Trump is, I think, trying to isolate China. Just like everybody is trying to isolate us. Really, a lot of that's coming from China. China's got a great deal of control. So I believe Trump is really trying to isolate China. And this move right here, I think, effectively does that. It's like, no, look, here's the thing. I don't have a problem with you all. Well, most of you. But them? The big giant elephant in the room? Yeah, he's a problem. And so we'll see. Because again, we are one of the biggest consumers on this planet, one of the biggest. We do a lot of things right still. Not as much as we used to, but we still do for a few number of years, like someone said. So we're making progress. I did read that, didn't I? Yeah. Oh, based on the lack of respect that China has shown the world's markets, I hereby raise a tariff charge to China by the United States of America to 125% effective immediately. At some point, hopefully in the near future, China will realize that the days of ripping off the USA and other countries is no longer sustainable or acceptable. Conversely, and based on the fact that more than 75 countries have called representatives of the United States, including the Departments of Commerce, Treasury, and the USTR, to negotiate a solution to the subject being discussed relative to trade barriers and tariffs, currency manipulation, and non-monetary tariffs. Now, these countries have not, at my strong suggestion, retaliated in any way, shape, or form against the United States. I have authorized a 90-day pause and a substantially lowered reciprocal tariff during this period of 10%, also effective immediately. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So he's giving everyone a bone, kind of saying, here's the thing. Either support us on this China thing or else. So there you go. So where are we at right now? Things are, let me just refresh, make sure it's yep. So Dow's up huge. Dow is up 7.39%. It's at over 40. This is awesome. S&P 500 is up 8.57%. It's up at 5,400. NASDAQ is up 10.87%. Now, it's like most of the gains that it lost. We're going to see. This China thing is going to be interesting, the possibility of delisting. So for all you guys that are like, wait, what's up? You always talked about Gold Coast. Like, I still think that was the best move, especially a year plus ago, for sure. Unquestionably. Gold is actually up a bunch, 86 right now. Gold's up at 30.76, almost back up to where it was 31.50 was its cap, its top. So it's still held as well. So again, my contention's there. Crypto's doing really well, which I'm not fond of, right? But just to call it all out, man, Bitcoin's up 58. It was up higher earlier, but that's cool. Ethereum, 1656. XRP, $2. Yeah, I bought mine at like 80 cents. Not bad. I was curious what what it was actually at, but all right, cool. That's not like exciting, but if it ever goes to like Bitcoin numbers, right? I got it at 80 cents. That's got to be something. All right, anyways. All right, let's get into some more good stuff. Venezuela's Maduro signs economic emergency decree. They are in a world of hurt right now, especially considering, I think, there's a direct tie into Iran. I think they got hit with sanctions on that one, too. And then on top of that, they've been doing some other BS, and then the Trender Aragua stuff, because they've been literally sending criminals to our country. This was Venezuela. We're kind of at war with Venezuela right now without declaring war against Venezuela. We've just chosen their soldiers. But he's having a hard time, and as Trump said, only the strong will survive, or the weak won't make it, or whatever. Germany, just kind of another example of what's happening in the world in general. And this is a place that many would say probably never could possibly become conservative, is becoming conservative. The AfD party, which is the one that Elon Musk was talking about. They become the strongest party in Germany for the first time in history, according to the latest Ipsos poll. 25%. The CDU-CSU is 24%, but this has never, ever been bigger than everybody else. So that's a big deal. We'll see what continues. Trump told Republican senators he's open to raising taxes on the highest earners. I don't recall seeing any real specific numbers in here. It's just discussions they're talking about. So all good. You know, we're going to get even with the ones we should get even with. Trump's saying he's going to tap the Defense Production Act to boost coal.
Under the executive order that I will sign in a few moments, we're slashing unnecessary regulations that targeted the beautiful clean coal. We will rapidly expedite leases for coal mining on federal lands, and these two gentlemen are going to do a real job of it. You've already started. And we'll streamline permitting. We will end the government bias against coal, and we're going to unlock the sweeping authorities of Defense Production Act, the Defense Production Act, to turbocharge coal mining in America.
Turbocharging coal mining. I mean, again, most of us I've been kind of center left most of my life, right? So I'm still a little on that, I recycle, got the extra bin, whatever. I don't know if it matters. I agree. I 100% agree. But I got the bin, I might as well use it, right? I even got one for sometimes if I think about it, I'll actually pull the old produce out of the bag and throw it into the one that at least my gardeners use. Helps. Because otherwise, it's horrible. It's horrible, folks. I'm telling you. Yeah. I don't know. My problems. The U.S. has spent hundreds of billions of dollars to help Kiev. And now what? Some American jerks are buying guns from Bandera fans to kill their president. What a shame. This is Dmitry Medvedev, supposedly. Says, hey, merciful Trump, isn't it time to punish those who really were behind the assassination attempt and now snorting coke on Bankovaya Street? Again, don't know if it's true. Might be. Could be Dmitry. Wouldn't be outside of the possibility, but I don't usually believe named accounts on Telegram. So I don't know, whatever. Maybe not. But it's out there. White House considers withdrawing 10,000 troops from Eastern Europe. To me, this has to do with the buildup for Ukraine, pulling it back. To me, this represents the de-escalation to Russia. Without saying it that way, without spinning it that way. They're like, well, look, this was all tied around Ukraine. We're pulling these troops back. Nobody said anything about a deal that Trump and Russia probably made. Can you pull back some of your troops and show me that you mean this? Trump's like, yeah, I'm willing to do that. How about I pull 10,000 troops? And be like, that's good. I'd like that. Right? And so discussions happen, deals are made, and things must be followed through. So now all of a sudden we're seeing funny things play out, aren't we? Strange little things. Now the China thing. Again, Trump is doing stuff. I know a lot of people are questioning everything. I'm going to leave it up to you guys to figure that out. I know already what's up when it comes, not everybody, but there's so many people that are just, I watched the thing someone sent me on PsyOps, and I listened to it. It was a guy that taught a lot of PsyOps stuff, and really, and it was, honestly, I did not necessarily hear anything in there that I had never heard, but there was a couple places where they kind of combined a couple facts. I was like, oh, that's okay. I didn't think of it like that, so that's cool. But the way we're PsyOped and how most people fall into it, it just blows my mind. Again, I'm not going to try to spend all the time on it, but it's like, I would even say probably 80% of my audience is probably PsyOped in a lot of ways. And so there's a lot of bouncing around between stuff that falls into that category. And again, it's just, it is what it is. I don't know. I wish more of us had an easier time with nailing that down, but yeah, we're still working through it. Trump is issuing an order to block state climate change policies. This is pretty awesome. He did this executive order yesterday. Sorry, I forget what day it is. The order directed the U.S. Attorney General to identify state laws that address climate change, ESG initiatives, environmental justice, and carbon emissions, and take action to block them. There's going to be lawsuits against states coming, my friends. Yeah, it's going to be beautiful because they don't have the right to make policies that affect the whole nation, I guess, or affect companies to have to do things because only them and not everybody else is doing it. And this is good. And I live in one of the states that's famous for doing that kind of stuff, and I'm stoked. And I will be here to make my ripples the best I can. All right. Walls falling. This was a good part too. Yeah, let's get here. So this is stuff I wonder. One, it's very interesting. I saw a fun little pattern with Fox News. I'm going to be kind of paying attention to see if I keep seeing it. And it might have to do some of where some of the info comes from in the big picture. But the Biden administration held private talks with Beijing on Chinese spy balloon ahead of notifying the public. So we're getting this information that's coming out right now around the Biden administration, around the things that were wrong. Now, to me, there's kind of two sides to it. At first, I was sort of resistant to this a little because it's like, at this point, yeah, I mean, we kind of know that Biden sucks, right? Like, I'm thinking my audience, at least specifically, of course Biden sucks. Do I really need to spend more time on that? And then I'm like, but it's the fact that the people that didn't know Biden sucked are starting to realize, man, he was doing some scandalous stuff. Maybe. They probably don't hear about it in their news circles, but eventually it's going to make so much noise that they're going to find out about it, right? And they're either going to have to start rejecting everything and they'll find themselves in this small little circle where they can only talk to like 4 people because anybody else has irrational brains like, dude, are you serious? You haven't seen this? What, have you been living under a rock? I just don't like the news at all. Right. So, yes, they knew about the spy balloon in advance. Before they went public with it, they were afraid that the people would be a little off-put by the Beijing government if they acknowledged the fact that a frickin' Chinese spy balloon was over. Now, the thing was, they had the discussion with China just, 7 days prior to the Pentagon issuing a statement. This thing was already halfway across the country, it seemed. I pray to God they actually knew about it before then. I mean, they had to have, I hope. And I think that was part of what Biden wanted to do, was to show the world that we're weak, that you can literally fly a fucking balloon over us, and we won't even know. A balloon. I feel like it was like in the John Wick with the fucking pencil, right? Like, oh my God. Or in Johnny Dangerfield, the giant gun, it shoots through schools. Like, it was just, it was probably wrong nowadays. It didn't age as well as it could have, but meh, it's still funny as hell. I mean, I don't think I would ever, it's not okay to shoot through schools, but it's just a funny line. Back when you were allowed to say things that were funny. Biden White House secured Trump phone from FBI in January 6 probe. New emails from Grassley and Johnson are showing this. So the Biden administration was behind the securing of the phones of President Pence and Trump and doing whatever they did with it. And again, once they got their hands on it, knowing who these people were at this point, that they literally manufactured Steele dossier. They literally manufactured all sorts of things against January 6 people. They literally manufactured so much. Now they have the phones. It's like, what are they going to put on there? Child porn? Like, what's next? And they probably did. And they're just like, we don't want to come out with that yet. And Trump's going to be like, of course, you're right. I had that on there. Mr. Devin Archer even. He's saying that Hunter Biden leveraged Biden's brand all over the place, had protection, had help from the Biden administration. The information's coming out hard, fast, and heavy because he doesn't have to worry about essentially being killed by the Biden administration. Here is a big, big win. Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. I love Tom Fitton, love the work he's doing. Was this America First Judicial Watch? That's them. Sorry. Doing amazing work. And this is a huge, huge victory for ballot counting and receiving ballots after Election Day. This is huge. The midterm election will change things forever.
You, as a citizen, can ask questions about what your local election and state election officials are doing to clean up the rolls. You literally can ask the questions under federal law, Section 8I. You can go look it up. And this is on top of Judicial Watch's other work in support of voter ID, in support of ensuring that the federal requirement that there's an election day be upheld. As I said before, we have an election day, not an election week, and we obtained a massive series of rulings in the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals affirming that. counting ballots that arrive after Election Day is unlawful. That's what the circuit court ruled. We've got lawsuits in Illinois where they count ballots for up to 14 days after Election Day. And we got lawsuits in California, or a lawsuit in California, where they count ballots for up to 7 days after Election Day. And that post-Election Day counting of illicit ballots, in my view, or as we allege, resulted in Republicans losing 2 seats in the Congress. They were winning on Election Day, and those seats were lost to Democrats as a result of post-Election Day counting of ballots that arrived after Election Day.
Yeah, and that's not happening anymore. At least the Fifth Circuit backed it up. Again, we're making progress. We're winning. It's just a tough fight every step of the way, and we're not going to stop doing that. Here's Press Secretary Leavitt telling us something magnificent. What is it? There's been a the discovery. What's weird is the Elon Musk thing came out about the Social Security numbers being used, and even that's being brought back up. But they're still alluding that there's more that's bigger than that. Bigger, I don't know. Something significant-ish that, I don't know.
And then the president on Thursday told us that there was an incredible discovery that the Doge team had made. He called it horrible and incredible. Can you reveal that yet? Give us details on what it was about?
There has been a discovery. I hate to leave you hanging on a cliff, but I don't want to get ahead of the president on that. But I can confirm there has been a discovery. It's just not quite yet ready for release.
What the friggity frick is it then? I mean, I don't know about you, but I want to know. Fannie Mae fires over 100 employees for unethical conduct, including the facilitation of fraud. By the new director of the U.S. Federal Housing Finance Agency. He's not allowing this kind of nonsense. They found a bunch of employees, 100 of them. I guess, is it exactly 100? It's kind of weird. Or was that just a number they were going for, and they're like, you 100 people were doing it badly. Anyone else continues to do this, and you will be fired immediately. Right? I don't know. Maybe that's how it worked. It's a funny number, right? It's just like, nope, we only let 100 people cheat at a time. I don't believe that. That doesn't seem possible. But anyway, the new director, Polte, I guess, for his empowering of Fannie Mae to root out unethical conduct. Again, this is huge, man. We're saving money. IRS chief is going to quit over the deal to share data with immigration authorities. By the way, this is like the third IRS leader. They've either all fired or all quit for the same reasons, Doge and us trying to get into the IRS. A privately created thing, back in 1913, right? Federal Reserve, IRS, FBI, all these things got created at the same time. And they're swearing back and forth they're not going to let us in there. And we're like, oh, yes, we are. You're inside the Treasury. You're inside of the executive branch. There are no independent agencies. Oh, they're screwed. Head of FAA's air traffic organization, Tim Arell, has resigned after 40 years of federal service. He's retiring. He was given an option, it sounds like. He's getting out. The dude is the chief operating officer for the FAA. And obviously with all the stuff that's been going on, the crashes and everything else, something's not right. Something is amiss. He was probably very supportive of DEI and all that. And they probably realized how kind of severe or how far that really sunk into the organization. And they're like, you obviously can't be a part of anything anymore at all. So we have a bit of a problem with him. So yeah, he's out. And that's cool. He got to retire. Again, I'd like to see this kind of stuff. You know, unless you were totally breaking the law, then I want you to go to jail. Otherwise, if you were doing as you were told, meh. Largest U.S. egg producer cooperating in Justice Department price probe. I guess they're looking into this. Cal-Maine Foods, I don't know. They're looking into the egg prices, whether there was a conspiracy to raise them, whether they got higher than they needed to go, whether they got high in places they didn't need to go. Anyway, whatever. They're looking into it in case you thought that was important. U.S. Attorney General to lead Justice Department push on gun rights. It sounds like General Pam Bondi is just going all in on this. I mean, Kash Patel said it recently with the ATF and everything else. It sounds as though AG Pam Bondi is doing the same. She is saying that we are literally doing this as a larger group to enforce gun rights and protect the Second Amendment. So they are going to start looking and digging and removing a lot of these crazy gun restrictions that are not legal. And we should hopefully make some progress. Again, regulations and stuff they're trying to get rid of. Trump administration moves to restore some terminated foreign aid programs, sources say. I brought this up mainly because, all right, who cares? That's great. I know they're using this as a reason why they shouldn't shut down the 1,600 plus organizations, but not this one, sorry. There were 6 recently canceled. I knew it was number 6. I was like, how funny that 6 sources and 6 recently canceled programs were turned back on. There were food assistance programs. They accidentally got turned off. Here's what happened. They turned them back on. Boom. There you go. That's how you fix that. No big deal. What they did isn't permanent unless it needs to be, in which case, permanent. Bye-bye. So yeah, we brought 6 back. That's how easy that was. So everybody, STFU, for the ones, not you guys, but everybody, behind you screaming, right? It's like, well, dude, he turns them on if they don't need to be. No big deal. We're not going to not get rid of the other, 1,400 of them for the 6 that were good. No, we'll get rid of the 1,406 and be like, whoops, sorry, we'll pull those 6 back. My bad. Me malo. Right? Yeah, that's it. We're good. This... Okay, I just think this is funny, guys. I'm sorry. This is sort of a, if your kids are in the room, it's kind of a marijuana thing. But I think this is just funny, and I know I've got a bunch of people in my audience that are maybe doing the same stuff I do for fun sometimes. Here you go. This is funny.
Why do white people make their edibles so strong? What are you running from? Why am I tasting colors? I just wanted to go to Target. Now I gotta call somebody to come get me because my car turned into a spaceship and I don't know how to fly it. I'm not an astronaut. Yo, I'm so high.
That's not funny. Kids, do not do this at home. It is, that's just funny. I've got some friends that are really into edibles, and they're stupid strong. Anyways, dude, mypillow.com/OTF. Love it. Dude, that drink, I've been talking about that drink. I want to talk about it for a second. First off, you're going to save 30%. I'm actually going to buy a 12-pack. That is good. And I'm honest, I'm torn between these two. The yellow is really, really good. The lemonade, very good. It's kind of refreshing. There's a sweetness to it. There's not any sugar. It's like 10 milliliters. It's no carbs. Like it's in this blue one. I haven't done the green apple yet. I'm less excited about it though. I will be honest. But this blue one, blueberry citrus, delicious. I had that this morning. Went and worked out. Man, that helped. It gave some nice pump. And I'm going to tell you guys, I do something I know is wrong, and everybody says not to. My body is so conditioned this way just for the past 30 plus years that every time I try to change it, I literally feel disgusting. And so I don't care. Like, I just work out the way I am. I don't need to be, Arnold Schwarzenegger. I can talk like him, but I don't need to look like him. I don't need to. That's not why I'm here. So, yeah, I don't eat. So this allows me to kind of maintain ketosis, which I like, by the way, which is super cool. And the energy is surprising. That's where I was at. I've had 2 of them. And the energy is surprising. And it's that energy that your body uses when you don't have any food or carbs. But yet you still have to go out in the field and work, right? Because otherwise you're going to die. So your body creates this weird chemical reaction. I think it's part of the burning fat thing, but it creates this chemical reaction. It creates a chemical that gives you energy. And it's a different way than it normally does it with food. That's what this drink has in it. So there's no caffeine either, which I would say for people that are Latter-day Saints, even though I don't know, maybe some of you guys have offended. I don't know, but for Latter-day Saints type people, this actually would probably be okay because you're still, I don't know, because it still gives you a buzz. It gives you a buzz. You probably aren't okay with it. Whatever. If you're strict, if you're sort of not strict, but you drink, like I've known a couple that like drink like Diet Coke and stuff. Like caffeine's like, okay. So this might be a good one where you can just like say, hey, I don't drink caffeine anymore, right? And then you can be all proud of yourself and really you're drinking something that works probably better, I think. You got the My Cross too, which is super cool. It's got the women's version of it. It's sterling silver. It's really beautiful. Yeah, 30% savings on that. It's a pretty big deal. We got the best sheets you're going to use. They're super deep pockets. They're beautiful colors. They've got percale. They've got the Giza. They've got the, they've had shucks. What are the other, I'm drawing a blank on it. I can see it in my head. Flannel, basically, but whatever they are. Yeah, flannel. That's right. Okay. They don't have silk. I'm surprised they don't have silk, but their whole thing's the cotton. Also, they got the beautiful sheets. They got a bunch of different kinds and different typical ways. The towels are incredible. Just anything that you get of the towel sheets variety are always going to be amazing. And the pillows are the same way. I love their pillows. This is my favorite, the classic collection, the sale, huge sale. They ended up I kind of bringing it back. I hope it's not. I mean, I kind of hope it had something to do with me, but at the same time, I hope I didn't piss anyone off too badly because I know they wanted to make the other one work, but I don't see it on my page anymore, so I kind of feel like somebody's listening. So sorry, but thank you, actually, because this pillow is significantly better, unquestionably. I love this pillow. I wish they could put that cool coating, the 2.0 coating on this pillow, this fill, and I would be a happy-ass camper. I'm kind of waiting for that one to just sort of show up at my house. I'll let you guys know when it does. All said, blankets, $25, a whole bunch of different kinds. They've got clearance events with panjamas, as my girlfriend would call them. They got the best slippers. They got like a freaking cloud inside of them, so you put your foot inside, and yeah, it's just like, oh, yeah, you just want to you don't want to take them off, that's for sure. And they've got rubber soles. It's like 7 layers. It's stitched on the side. They're actually really, like, you could go down to Starbucks with them if you want. I mean, it kind of defeats the purpose of indoor shoes, but still, whatever. However you want to use your stuff, use your stuff. Just make sure you go to mypillow.com/OTF. That is mypillow.com/OTF. Get the best night of sleep you've ever had. Seriously. You've just been waiting and you don't even know what it is. It's waiting for you. Judge McFadden has granted the Associated Press request to block the White House from restricting Oval Office and East Room access. This just seems strange. First off, this doesn't seem possible because they can only hold so many people in there. So who says that they're allowed to come in here versus somebody else? Why would they have special privilege over others? Maybe because they're part of that little weird group or clique, but we understand that Leavitt is in charge of that now. She's the president, I believe. So, well, wouldn't she be able to exclude or sort of make a change? Whatever. So, today the court grants that relief, but the injunction does not limit the various permissible reasons the government may have for excluding journalists from limited access events. So it's basically saying, look, I might be able to get you back in the press office room, but I can't guarantee anything other than that. And so they'll never get a question. We know that. In fact, it's funny. Trump press secretary doesn't engage with reporters using pronouns in emails. She won't even respond to the email. If it's got their pronouns in it, she's like, yeah, no, I'm not going to waste my time. So who do you think she's going to call on? AP? Ever? Ever. Do you think she's ever going to call AP News? Nope. Judge can't make that happen. Zero chance. So this is really an empty thing. Maybe they let him back in, but we will never let you talk. You're never going to ask us a question until you acknowledge that it's the Gulf of America. Simple. Done. I don't care. Don't have to do it. Don't do it. It's freedom of speech. You're right. We're just not going to call on you. That's our choice too. You don't get some guaranteed, well, I get a question for sure. No, you don't. No, you don't. Shut the frick up. ACLU files a suit to block Alien Enemies Act deportations. The ACLU. I'm sure there's no standing. They've judge shopped, so I'm sure they're going to somehow put a restraining order or whatever on Trump on this, right? Or whatever the proper word is. There's no way the ACLU has standing. At some point, some judge is going to be like, you don't have standing to do this. This is an act of the government doing its borders. You're a company trying to look out for... No, sorry, go home. Bye-bye. Judge in New York blocks deportation of alleged migrant gang members without due process. Got a Manhattan judge. Oh, shock. Wednesday, they temporarily blocked the deportation of any purported Venezuelan gang members detained in the Southern District of New York. Southern District of New York. We still don't have control of that, by the way. For all you guys that think that Pam Bondi's not giving information up, that Kash Patel's not giving information up, I don't think we actually have. Like, I literally think they're going to have to, like, literally show up at SDNY. Kash, if for some reason someone's listening that knows you, dude, you all need to get on camera showing up at SDNY going in. So we know you all have access to some of this crazy stuff because, as far as I can tell, you guys don't seem to have control of this section. So they're saying they first have to receive notice and an opportunity for a hearing. The U.S. District Judge Alvin Hellerston suggested his decision was meant to define the parameters set by the Supreme Court decision on Monday that allowed Trump administration to remove Tren de Aragua gang members under the Alien Enemies Act, but not without due process. They didn't say that, and so here is a judge insisting that since you didn't say it, it must be up to us to define it. This sounds like they're adding wording to me, which I don't think is legal, which to me also kind of feels like somebody's going against the Supremes in the Southern District. I don't know. You know, like I probably sound as crazy as the people that, you know, the Q post came out at this time of day and it was referencing it, and then they draw an arrow down to this, and this guy was born and had a fart that day. And again, I'm not ripping on it per se, but some of that stuff's extraordinarily elaborate, and it's like, good God. Damn, dude, I feel bad for these people. I have a hard time sleeping sometimes. Just because my brain's too, I can take drugs if I want, but that's not going to help the fact that, you know, that's just masking. That just creates a drug problem. That's what that does. An immigration judge has given lawyers representing the Departments of Homeland Security a little over 24 hours to provide Mahmoud Khalil's legal team with evidence that he is removable from the U.S. under the allegations lobbed against him. Now we got a judge, immigration judge nonetheless, I guess, but still a judge. That's like, you have to tell us what's up, what information do you have? But what if that reveals sources and stuff? What if again, this can be a case that can take a while. Dude's already in the other country, and they're like, all right, we'll get you that. We'll get you that. What's a fair amount of time? You want it right now in 24 hours? No, we can't do that, man. Sorry. We've got to figure out some stuff, how much we're going to redact. Oh, yeah, the redacting game, of course. Oh, everybody's playing it. The Trump administration has halted more than $1 billion in federal funding for Cornell University and around $790 million for Northwestern University amid civil rights investigations. The continuation of the many, many schools that are getting slashed. $1 billion in federal funding, too. Folks, this is legit money. I think we had $1 billion just going to Harvard recently we're talking about. That's $2 billion. I don't know about you, but that's $2,000 million. That's a fudge ton of money. Not that money's everything, but from the standpoint of saving it, when we're trillions of dollars in debt, which is 1,000 billion, which is a million, by the way. Okay, $1 trillion is a million. 1 million millions is a trillion. That's a fudge ton of money. I want to use the real word, but I've only said the F word like more than once. Once at least this show. I won't go that direction. Got a few things from Trump. He was at this black tie affair thing last night at the dinner where he's fundraising. I don't know. A lot of things are happening. They might have had some discussions with him that made him change course a little too. Who knows? Trump is a smart man. He knows how to play the game. But we got 3 different little videos of him chatting up some cool stuff about what's going on in the world and him talking about it. Check it out. Or let's check it out. There we go.
Our opponents are not afraid that our America First policies will fail. They're terrified that our strategy will succeed and we're going to get bigger and stronger and better as a party. And that's what's happening. And that is what's happening. It's going to be something. And I'm actually looking forward to the midterms. I really are. We're going to prove that all of their treasonous years of betrayal will not be forgotten, because it's treason. What they did is treason. When they allowed millions of people to pour in through open borders from all over the world, they came. To me, that's treason. What they've done to our country is unthinkable. The money we have to spend to take people out, and then we have judges that say, no, let Tren de Aragua come back into our country. They want him to come back in. Killers, they cut off a man's...
Yeah, they're horrible. And it's just stupid. Judges don't have a right to do this. It's obvious. And just because they say to do it, and again, their whole push, I really do think this is their move in the bigger picture from a deep state standpoint, is we want to get Trump to demonstrate he's a dictator. But what's happened thus far, and I was praying it would, but the Supreme Court has actually quickly come in on they knocked down a bunch of crap on Monday. I was shocked. Because normally they move, government moves slow. Supreme Court moves like molasses on a winter's day in Africa, or in Alaska slow, like frozen slow. Like that's a glacier that's not going anywhere. Slow. Did I kick that dead horse enough? I hope I did. Needless to say, did I play this? The shrill voices of you're hearing? Oh, the tariffs. Yeah, scoundrels. People don't like the tariffs. They don't like what's going on. The same people that let 90,000 jobs go. It's pretty cool.
But the shrill voices that you're hearing this week about tariffs are the same scoundrels and frauds who never thought twice about when the United States lost 90,000 factories and plants. Think of that, 90,000. How do you do 90? If you had a map, a big map the size of that wall, and you had a pin for each factory, you wouldn't have enough room. You think of it, 90,000 factories since NAFTA. But the shrill...
That's, I would call, well, I want to call it a butt ton, but you guys might get offended by that term. So I'm not going to use it. Senate Judiciary Committee chairman is imploring President Trump and FBI Director Kash Patel to rehire the agents and other bureau employees who blew the whistle on alleged wrongdoing during the Biden years. I am impressed. I kind of feel like maybe Senator Grassley said something that he's like, shit, that didn't play out how I wanted it to. Like, he probably got beat up. I was beating the shit out of him. I was kidding, punching his ass. And you pee blood, motherfucker. Right? And he turned, he instantly did the right thing, I think. So, again, we got to move in a direction, and we can't have this. For now, I don't know, it sounds like dictator thing. This is the first chance we've ever had in our lives to do what we're actually trying to do, it seems, and not destroy everything in the process. I think Trump's been talking about this for 30 years. I think there's a plan, whether some people can trust it or not. I know Stu Peters and others are like, I don't trust the plan. Like, whatever. I don't care. Like, what the people that you should know better than to listen to at this point in time, frankly. If you're still listening to Stu Peters, I'm going to give away one. Dude is, definitely not working always on the best interests. Now, who he's working for, I don't know. I'm not saying it's the deep state. I really don't. I think there's the industrial complex that still does stuff that shouldn't, but I don't know. Hard to say. I've seen some strange stuff come out of that crowd in general, so I don't know. I used to be a huge fan, too. That's what bugs me a little bit. DNI Tulsi Gabbard is at the NSA this morning. That's the story, I guess. Talk about taking a ride along, figure out what's going on at NSA. All right, cool. I hope she does. Iran is expanding their uranium production. This story, who is this? Bloomberg, yeah. This story is meant to scare people. They're building the narrative. And again, I think Iran is far along. And the difference from going from 60% to 90 plus percent, I forget the exact number, which is probably a good thing. The difference actually sounds like a lot, but surprisingly simple compared to getting to 60% is very difficult. And getting to a much lower percent, like 5% or whatever it was, is extraordinarily difficult. Getting to 90% is very easy from 60. They've got a lot of fuels, what they're telling us. They're telling us it's at 60 grade, which basically means they're moving forward with creating weapons-grade uranium. And doing that will allow them to make missiles in a very, very short period of time. So the rhetoric, this is likely put out by the Mossad, okay? I had a friend named Masood, and so it's so hard for me sometimes not to say that name when I'm talking about Mossad. Mossad's probably behind this story, this place, whatever. This is happening. They want so badly. And they need to, I guess. I know Trump gave Iran, 60 days, I think? To like, you either got to somehow come to the table about this. You can't have nuclear weapons, period, end of story, one way or the other. We will make sure you either give them up voluntarily or we will make sure you don't have them. Now, certainly a lot of discussions around that. I saw talks of a new nuclear bomb that's, I don't know, it was like 10 times, 20 times the size of Hiroshima. Oh, it's like, dude, Hiroshima was tiny. So this thing was like, I don't know, 200 megatons. That's big, don't get me wrong. Or sorry, 200 kilotons. Sorry. And I'm saying we got nuke warheads that'll do megatons, man. We got city busters. The kilotons are... that's... I mean, come on. Yeah, I mean, what is that? Are you talking about a suitcase or something? What do you mean? What do you mean? Dude, we got legit, like, we can blow stuff up, dude. I don't know if you guys ever remember The Martian. Remember I'm going to decimate you with my planet, my death ray because it, blocks my Earth view of Venus or whatever the hell it was. When I decimate the planet Earth because it blocks my view of Venus. I think that's what I used to say. Only in his voice. So all said, that one part where he's just hanging off the moon because they blew it up. That's basically what we could do. It was a pain to get there. I know. Sorry. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, he's hired the prominent Republican consulting firm Axiom, not to be confused with Axios, the news agency that you couldn't trust to save your life, though strange how close their names are. Axiom Strategies is going to be running his primary campaign against GOP Senator John Cornyn. We're going after Cornyn. I like the idea. I think Ken Paxton's proven himself. What we think of Abbott's a totally separate issue. So cool that Ken Paxton's running for Senate and that he's running to get rid of John Cornyn, who is the biggest a-hole on the planet and also went after Ken Paxton. So I hope we can get our Texan friends to make that happen, frankly. Arizona AG appeals dropped charges against Trump electors case, and they want to know why. So Arizona's like, why'd you drop these charges we had for this election stuff? That's not fair. We want to know why. We want to know what's up with that. Like, they can't handle the fact that we've dropped stuff against Trump. They're losing their minds. They have no idea how to move forward. CIA files reveal search. That they searched for Hitler in South America 10 years after his suicide as Argentinian prepares to release classified docs on Nazi fugitives. If you guys aren't aware of this, Hitler didn't die in the grave or in the little hole on fire with his girlfriend. That didn't happen. That was a lie. He did go to South America. There's almost assuredly proof that he's been to Antarctica a bunch, which also ties into the flat earth theory, by the way, too, why they don't want anybody going there. You can't go there. It's impossible to go there. And Hitler's got a base there and a whole bunch of crazy shits out there. Whatever. It's cool. I don't care. We also watched full polar orbits, by the way, of the SpaceX. Though I don't know. It's hard to tell when they were going over Antarctica. It was one I was trying to watch. I just didn't have enough time to go trying to find evidence that the world is roundish. But there's some good stuff when they did the polar orbit, which I think is why Musk kind of did that to a degree too. You may not believe it's round, but here's the pole. Here's the North Pole. Here's the South Pole. Here's the North Pole. Here's the South Pole. And you could tell because it's all snowy, and you were just like not snowy, right? And now you're snowy. So again, crazy what's going on. But yeah, a lot of stuff has been hidden from us. Hitler didn't die. He died of old age. He's probably dead now. It's pretty sure. A lot of suspicion that he possibly shaved off his mustache and all this nonsense. But there is a whole bunch of stuff. What was it? Argentina or Chile? I think it's Argentina, right? Yeah, Argentina. And there was a whole mess of Jew haters. There's a whole bunch of Germans from the Third Reich there. And many say they started the Fourth Reich at that point, and so they just never, just didn't happen the way that we've been told. Deals were probably made with the deep state or something, and they were just going to go and lay low or whatever, or be the deep state's army, and that's where a lot of people wonder if that's where some of the trillions of dollars have gone that we've just given this original fleet, some of that stuff, deep space, or deep state, deep space program, or dark, what is it, deep, what is the one that we keep calling the space program that nobody knows, secret space program, that's what we call it, sorry. Trump CBS parent company set for a mediation in the $20 billion 60 Minutes lawsuit. I think it's cool, and that they have to kind of let this move forward. Because this was right before the election, and they literally edited something that would have made her not sound intelligent. And that would have helped Trump tremendously. And they literally probably edited it for that reason. $20 billion in what he spent? Yeah, that's probably fair, especially damages so it doesn't happen again. All right, I'm going to close out with this because this was actually pretty good. It's a lady that's done some digging into the Tesla, the protests, if you will. Let's call them protests, and where they're doing damage and stuff. Well, where the money is coming from and going, and how much the deep state's been using against us. Now, I think we killed a lot of it with the U.S. aid, but they've still got, a bank balance that's going to take them months to burn down. They're not broke. They've been cut off, and they will go broke, but they're not broke yet, and they're going to spend every dime they got to create chaos. The expectation is the summer. I don't know. We'll see. Again, we've thwarted a lot of stuff. We've done a surprisingly good job, you guys, for sure. Let's see what happens. And it's not your fault if we don't. It's some things we've got to experience. It's you can't look at something that pops up in your reality as a mistake or a failure. No, it's there for a reason. That's it. Find the reason if you're curious, but otherwise, accept it. So we can change what we can change. What happens is what's so. There's only the now. There's no such thing as future. There's no such thing as past. There's literally only the now. It's the only place you can ever do anything. The present moment's the only place you can receive presents. Literally, the future is this thing that doesn't exist. It's a perceived idea. Don't get me wrong. We know what it means, but it's not real. It's not a real thing. Some people time travel. I don't know. I don't know. I think there's different space-time continuums, so I don't know. I kind of wonder. Right? I'll have some fun with that, but in this area, in this locality, space-time continuum, there is only really one now. So this talks about how that's being taken advantage of, how we're being attacked, and it's pretty beautiful, pretty powerful. So I'm going to close out with that, and I'm actually going to remember to play it this time, like last time I promised you guys a video and didn't play it. I love you guys. We're making, I think, huge differences. Stuff's happening very freaking quick right now. Stay strong. That's all I can say. I hope you've prepared. We've talked about it. I know I sound like a broken record and always have, and it's cool because I never knew exactly when things were going to happen. Nobody really did. But we're starting to really get into the thick of it. And I think we've gotten through a couple of the bumps. I think we've got some more bumps still coming, but I don't know. We might do better than I thought. That would be pretty awesome. That'd be pretty fantastic. And again, for the people that got into gold, you're still stoked. Don't worry. We've got a ways to go. The price of that's going to go way up. If you want to get back into coinage or dollarage later, you're going to have some cash to play with. So trust me, you guys are set. And those that got in a year plus ago, for sure, dude, you guys already know what's up. So again, we're in a good place. We're prepared. And I don't think the stock market's done being crazy. I think there's a lot of companies that kind of maybe get cut during some of these movements. It's one thing I wonder about, like who's really paying attention to all the companies, where they were, where they ended up after that stock crunch, and then when everything went up, how many of those companies didn't go up? Because that's what I wonder. I'm thinking there's some numbers there, and I'm thinking these are some of the deep state, dark U.S. aid, like who knows? But that's one of the things where I think we're going to find some data points that's going to capture something. If any of you guys got the abilities or time to dig, have at it. Not an easy task by any stretch of the imagination, but certainly a good one. And you'd have to be paying attention to stock numbers. All said, we've got a lot happening. We're going to play this out. I love you guys. Got some great live stuff coming up this week. I hope you join us. 3 p.m. Pacific Thursday, 3 p.m. Pacific Friday. 2 different shows, but same bat time, that's for sure. Same bat channel. Thank you guys for being a part of this journey with me. Thank you for helping change the world with me. Couldn't do it without you, that's for sure. And certainly it's you guys doing the actual work. Where we go one, we go all. It's on the Fringe with Dan Radio Style.
Once the darling of the progressive elite, Tesla was their climate savior, the poster child of, well, the future. Now it's become a woke flashpoint. From protests to boycotts, the left has turned on the very brand they once championed. Astra Nomani exposes the hypocrisy and the movement behind the meltdown.
I saw the keying and destruction of Teslas. I saw the attacks on the dealerships. And so I was curious. I was curious who was behind the attacks. An organization called Third Act, which has been organizing many of the protests in the area. And within minutes, I started seeing some familiar faces. And these were people who were activists inside the Democratic Party in Fairfax County, Virginia. I also understood other organizations that were involved, including a major one called Indivisible, which has now, I have learned, organized the protests around the country. They had created this nice little jingle at the beginning in February called Tesla Takedown, and that became their hashtag campaign. And so that's a pretty powerful word, as we know, take down. To take down something is to basically dismantle it, to destroy it. And so the target was not the government and the administration, but a business, an actual electric car business that, of course, was founded and created by Elon Musk, who is part of the Trump administration. But it was very curious in my 40 years of reporting in Washington, D.C., that these activists had targeted a private company instead of government officials themselves. So where did this come from? 259 groups have been involved in the approximately 900 protests that I have in this database. And who was involved? It was the organizations from the Democratic National Committee apparatus in New Jersey that participated in those protests. You can see it just goes on and on and on. And what we end up having then is a result in which you end up with a chart that I've created that I'm going to be putting online on my website, astronomani.com, and you can start seeing the amount of big money that is involved, the number of Democratic clubs that are involved, 100% of them connected and affiliated with the Democratic National Committee. And they have combined annual revenues of $2.5 billion with a B. That's a lot of money. And that is a lot of resources that has actually also been supported by taxpayers, because these organizations, many of them and most of them, have tax deductible status, which means that they don't have to pay taxes on their operations. What are they creating? They are creating this cacophony in the United States of this protest that people are going to hear reported in the news as, quote, organic and or grassroots. But as you can tell from the data, this is not grassroots. This is what we call astroturf, which means fake grass. And unfortunately, we have a failure in the mainstream media coverage of these activities, because what they have unfortunately done in, from CNN to MSNBC is cast this as a grassroots event that doesn't have this top-down effect. And ultimately, what does that fail? That fails the citizenry, that fails truth, that fails transparency. This is the protest industry. That's what I call this. Some people, you could call it the protest industrial complex, because it is a industry. And this industry has the websites, the vendors that are going to create the signs. They've got their graphic artists ready to bang out really pithy messages and really catchy images. And so they're just going to move from headline to headline, and they are going to be engaged in another dynamic that they call rapid response. So rapid response is specifically designed, just like the word suggests, to respond to the news rapidly. And what they do is they then create this echo chamber within this industry of their like-minded individuals and organizations. Why is it that their signs are all the same, their chants are all the same? Because they churn it out. And that's what I've been trying to do with the Pearl Project, is study the propaganda, investigate the organizations, follow the money, and then help educate and inoculate people.